Hi, I'm Dr. Jed Macosko, and I'm here to teach you about biology in this course. Today is our first lecture, and I'm excited to teach you a hierarchy of life that should help you understand biology from the top to the bottom. This hierarchy is often represented in images as a stack of half onions. So if you can picture taking an onion, cutting it right down the middle, and allowing other onions to stack up under that in ever branching and widening cone, that's kind of what life is. And the very top onion is life itself. It includes everything. And as you go down to the next level, it includes only parts of life. And as you work your way down, it only includes the very most compact parts of life. For example, an individual organism. Or you can go, like Richard Dawkins does, all the way down to what he calls selfish genes, which are pieces of DNA that are kind of out for themselves. And that can be the very lowest level of this stack of onions. So that hierarchical level is the nested hierarchy of life that helps us understand how life fits together. Now, hierarchy itself is a funny word that you may have heard about in terms of being at work. There's a hierarchy, there's a boss at the top, and management, and the middle management, lower management, and then the people who have to flip the hamburgers at the bottom. But life is organized that way, not so much because there's somebody controlling the top, but just so we can understand how things are related to each other. So let's take the first level at the top there. You've got life, and then right under that, a lot of people talk about the three domains of life. And everything in one of those three domains is related to everything in that domain somehow. So for example, the three domains are the bacteria, the archaea, and the eukaryota. So for example, in the eukaryota, everything in there have nuclei in their cells, inside their cells. They're all similar in that way, and that's why they're nested together in that little group underneath all of life. And under them come all different other kinds of things in the kingdom of life. For example, you might have all the plants in one little category, and all the animals in another category, all the fungi in another category. So that's how life is organized, and it helps to understand that these things are nested one inside of another. Now, I personally like to think about the branching pattern of life because it gives me more information. Some images show the three domains, for example, indicating how far each of the representative organisms in that branching pattern are from one another. So, for example, if you took the three domains and you took bacteria, archaea in the middle, and eukaryota over on the right, you might look for something you can recognize. And way at the top of the eukaryota, you might find the words animals, plants, and fungi, and you'll see that they're very close to one another. That means that their DNA differences and the things that make them different inside the molecular structure of DNA is not that huge, whereas they are very different from bacteria. And that's in fact what led to people introducing these three new categories at the very tippy top of the hierarchy of life. And some people are not even happy with putting kingdoms next after the domains, which most people are happy with. Kingdoms at the top, that's how they learn it. Kingdoms is the very highest ranking in the hierarchy of life. But some people want to put something between domains and kingdoms. Why? Because animals, plants, and fungi are all different kingdoms. And yet, as you saw in that branching pattern, they're very close to one another. So people want to put something between that shows, hey, there's a lot of variation that's much greater than the difference between a plant, an animal and a fungi, or a fungi and a plant. And so this sort of middle ground is called the supergroups, but that really hasn't caught on. I just mention it, though, to you so that you know, as we get into biology, things are not yet established. There's still a lot of new ground that we could cover in the story of life and how to categorize it, how to understand it. In fact, someone recently came up with a cube picture of biology. His name is Gordon Uno. And he took this hierarchy of life that we were just learning about, the stack of onions, as one face on a cube, and made two other faces of that cube as you look at it. So it's kind of like the X, the Y, and the Z. And in this class, we're going to look at what are these X, Y, and Z faces of the cube and how do they interrelate. So it's really important that you understand this first face, the face of the organizational hierarchy of life, starting with life at the top, domains, kingdoms, working your way all the way down to individual, or even beyond that, down to individual selfish genes. And as you understand that picture and combine it with the two other pictures, I think you'll have a great and wonderful understanding of how life is put together.